beautiful and this and that, and I don't really want to get that call today.
Bring him down from me. There we go. Bingo. Can't miss it now.
Yeah, front and center.
Power guy.
I'm Zach. I'm the guy on the ground. Good. Nice. Yeah. Of course.
Plug in the outlets right there, guys.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Sports should be.
I hope so. That's what we have.
Oh, yeah.
Just let me know if you power off before I walk away. Yeah.
If anybody trips on it, you're fired.
Me or him?
You got power.
What? Yes. Eddie.
Good.
Okay, can I have everybody's attention real quick, please? First of all, go ahead and get your levels. He is a little shorter than I am, so I'll give you here. My name is Zach. I'm the Congressman's press secretary. Congressman Gottheimer's press secretary. Congressman King will also be here. Our speaking order today will be Kevin Corbett from NJ Transit, Chris Boylan from General Contractors, Steve Cohen from the GDC, Jerry Zarrow, then Congressman Gottheimer, and then Congressman King. I know, speaking for Congressman Gottheimer, we have a very limited time afterwards today because we have to get on a train. We have a bill that Congressman Gottheimer is a sponsor for that's going to be on the floor. It's very exciting for us. So we're only going to take on-topic questions after this. We're happy to talk to you afterwards. We're happy to talk on the phone about anything else you might want to talk about, but we're only going to take on-topic questions afterwards. But anybody have any questions? Does anybody need anything else from me? Great, let's have fun here. Let's have fun here today, everybody. Testing our mic, testing our mic. Okay.
good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Guys.
I know that you're a counterpart. It's like Kevin opens up. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. How you doing?
Good. Anthony signed this transportation.
Oh, hey, how are you, sir? How are you? Good to see you.
Anthony's not a nice guy, but he got him in high school.
Why would he say that about you?
I really said that about Fred.
Okay. Looks like here's our list here. Looks like Kevin, you open up. It looks like.
Okay, that's
You guys all ready? We'll give it a sec. Sorry. Are you guys all good? Yep. Everybody here good? Okay. That looks like you're up.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. It's certainly my pleasure, Kevin Corbett, the Executive Director of New Jersey Transit, to be here with leaders from both sides of the state and both sides of the river and both sides of the aisle to call attention to the need for Gateway, the tunnel between the river that is so critical as a lifeblood for New York and New Jersey and the metropolitan region and indeed the nation's economy. On behalf of New Jersey Transit, we have been very active with Gateway, with our partners at Amtrak, MTA, and certainly the Gateway Partnership. And on our part, particularly for New Jersey Transit, we already have the 100% design for Portal Bridge, the 100-plus-year-old bridge that everyone loves to hate. And we are ready. We have committed $600 million of hard money from New Jersey to make sure that we can make that happen. We're 100% designed. We have the environmental impact statement is done. We're ready to go. We submitted our application to the FTA back in June, and we are waiting for the critical funding from the federal side so we can begin Portal Bridge. And I'll let others talk to more detail about the whole Gateway program. And with that, I think next we have is Chris Boylan. And I'd like to introduce Chris.
Thanks.
Chris Boylan with the General Contractors Association here in New York. I represent about 300 heavy civil construction firms, about 25,000 unionized construction workers in the region. And we obviously have an interest in Gateway from a constructability point of view. But beyond that, we live, work, educate our families here. We recreate, we go to hospitals. We rely on the transportation system to be in the kind of shape and the kind of capacity that Gateway would provide. 3 quick points. Gateway is the linchpin of the Northeast Corridor. Certainly it connects New York and New Jersey, but it connects more than that. It connects a major portion of the Northeast's economy and the national economy. So it's critically important to not only New York and New Jersey, even though they stepped up to the plate, both the governors and the gentlemen to either side, but it's important for the entire Northeast and the country. Secondly, I want to thank Congressman King and Congressman Gottheimer for the bipartisan effort they have undertaken, reaching across the aisle and across the river to advance this project. It's a tremendous example in very difficult political times. I had the great pleasure of working with Congressman King on getting some resources for 2nd Avenue Subway, East Side Access, the 63rd Street connector. So I know that when he focuses on things, things happen, which is great. I also want to thank the Gateway Development Corporation Chair, Vice Chair, and their staff. They have worked with the industry to have a conversation about how to do this project smartly, cost efficiently, and effectively. And if we can keep that dialogue going, which is Chairman Zarrow and Vice Chairman Cohen have established, we will build this project quickly and inexpensively. Bottom line is, we must advance Gateway now. The clock is ticking and time is not on our side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I am Steve Cohen, the New York representative to the Gateway Development Corporation, and I am here today to echo the words that you've already heard, but most importantly, to thank the incredible work and the bipartisan work of Congressman Gottheimer and Congressman King. You know, when we look at Gateway, I think we can all agree that it is among the most, if not the most critical infrastructure project that is currently facing the country. And the question we're always asked, because of the political realities we're all facing, is how does something like this get done? How do you get traction in Washington? And the answer is the two gentlemen to my right and left. It has been an extraordinary experience to work with people who understand that the most important thing, if you are representing a district in Congress, the most important thing if you're representing people of this country is to put political differences aside and focus on what needs to be done. This project needs to be done. This project needs to be funded. It affects the lives of millions of people, and it is an economic essential, not just to this region, not just to the two states, not just to the East Coast, but nationally. This is a critical link in the economic lifeblood of our country. And so I am here to thank the congressmen for the leadership, the insight, and the tenacity. They have both been there for Gateway, and I know they will continue to be there for Gateway until this project is completed. And with their leadership, that will be in the near future. So thank you both.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Jerry Zarro. I'm the chairman of Gateway Development Corporation. I'd like to echo what my colleague and partner Steve Cohen said. We are very grateful to Congressman King, Congressman Gottheimer for the leadership which they have extended during this process, and also for the new legislation which I have dubbed Plan B, and to thank them also for the example they have set in demonstrating that bipartisan cooperation is alive and well. It was not too long ago that we had a bipartisan deal to fund the Gateway Development Corporation between the then President of the United States and the governors of New York and New Jersey. That commitment was not honored, it was not followed through, and so here we find ourselves now. We had the RPA report. I know most of you reported on this last week, the economic devastation that would follow the closure of the tunnel. And let's not lose sight of the human toll that follows when people can't get to work or can't get home at night. The fact is, this doesn't impact just train commuters, but also the regional economy and the national economy. When the tunnel sneezes, we all catch cold. And so we thank Congressman Gottheimer, Congressman King for their legislative leadership. We have to believe that they must know something we don't in Washington, because otherwise a responsible government could not leave this project unfunded, and we look forward to hearing what it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Steve. Chris Boylan, thank you very much. All law enforcement, first responders who are here, thank you. Thank you, Kevin Corbett, and the reps from Amtrak who are here, and New Jersey Transit, the operating engineers from my great state, and I know we've got transportation workers as well, and Greg Lobley from the operating engineers and building trades as well, who have been important on this effort. I also want to thank our senators in New Jersey, Senator Menendez and Senator Booker, for their leadership on this effort, and the senators, of course, from New York. And I want to thank Peter King, who has been just a phenomenal leader on this project, on this effort. Of course, always there also for our first responders, and really been a good friend and someone that I've been very proud to serve with. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And it's important to be here at Penn Station. 200,000 daily commuters travel between New York and New Jersey to discuss question on everyone's mind, I think, who comes through here and commutes every day. What will happen to my commute if one or both of the tunnels between New York and New Jersey go down? How will I get to work, and how will I get home at night? Later today, Congressman King and I will be introducing our legislation requiring the U.S. Department of Transportation to outline their plan for doomsday contingency scenario if one of the tunnels into Penn Station or both shut down. We're also here to sound the alarm for the Gateway project, the need to finally build a new tunnel and stop the endless bureaucratic delays and political games. This goes without saying, our trains are critical to New Jersey's economy and to our region's economy. Every morning, thousands of workers get onto a New Jersey Transit or Amtrak train in Jersey and arrive here in Penn Station to get to work. They face a grueling commute as it is, with far too many delays on an outdated system. Employers here in New York City rely on them for their businesses, and lots of families can't wait for them to come home at night to tuck in their kids. But here's the problem. The 110-year-old tunnels into New York City are literally crumbling. There's one track in and one track out, as you probably know, and the chairman of Amtrak said himself that one of those tunnels will likely have to come down for an extended period within the next 5 years. If just one tunnel comes down, we go from 24 trains an hour to 6 trains an hour going in and out. That would literally devastate the economy. I recently got a front row seat to this problem when I toured the North River tunnels. I could see every crack and exposed wire myself, and there were plenty. Every effect from Hurricane Sandy and the 100 years. Now they're trying their best to patch up the cracks and fix the wires, but Band-Aids and Scotch tape aren't going to do the trick. So it's time we consider seriously what will happen if one of those tunnels fails and we lose the war against those cracks. The Hudson River Tunnel connects 20% of America's GDP. 20%. If it can't run, America will lose $100 million a day to the regional economy, according to the Northeast Corridor Commission. At the broadest level, the national economy will lose $16 billion over a 4-year span. That's about 33,000 jobs a year. If you are a New Jersey homeowner, to put this in other perspective, a tunnel failure will cost our state $22 billion in property values. Beyond this direct economic loss, 200,000 people won't be able to get to work and home. So here's what we want to know from the Federal Department of Transportation, which somehow they've downgraded this project from a moderate to low priority. What's their contingency plan when we have shut down one or both tunnels? It's likely that the new Gateway tunnels will not be built by then at this point, despite our pleading with the administration to get it done, and with prior administrations. So if the tunnels are shuttered, how will we deal with this blow to our region and America's economy? Our legislation, which you'll see today, requires the Department of Transportation to develop and publish a contingency plan within the next 60 days. Some outside experts have taken a stab at this and said, well, if this actually happens, people will have to move to planes or to the roads. Already they're congested, as you probably know, and if you drive from New Jersey to New York, you'll know that even a few miles could take you hours. We can't sit on the sidelines and just watch this happen. I don't know, people will have to actually probably start coming to work the night before if these tunnels shut down in order to get to work on time here in the city. The RPA also anticipates 38,000 additional crashes every year with more congestion and, of course, smog and the rest. Either way, it's a grim picture, a literal doomsday to our economy and to the region. But the administration thinks, again, that this is a low to moderate project and need, a decrease from medium to high. So they must know something if they're so confident that we don't know. So we'd like to see their contingency plan. We'd like to see what their plan B is, so we can see how we're going to deal with getting people from New Jersey, New York, and back home at night. How's it all going to happen? I want to see their backup plan. I know businesses in Jersey, they ask me the same thing. What are we going to do? As it is, they have trouble recruiting people with all the congestion. But if this goes down, what's going to happen to our economy? How are we going to handle it? What are we going to do to get people to work and home? Finally, last point, and then I'll turn it over to Congressman King. The incredible thing about this, and we've talked about this before, is that New York and New Jersey overwhelmingly pay far too much in taxes and already pay far too much compared to other states in the United States. My district gets historically 33 cents back for every dollar they send to Washington. And yet you've got people in moocher states like Mississippi that get back $4.38 for every dollar, saying to us that we shouldn't get the resources to actually fix this crumbling project. How's that possible? We can't build the Gateway project, but they keep wanting in the moocher states to keep taking our dollars. It makes no sense. It's time we get them back to New Jersey and New York, get this tunnel built, and do the right thing, avoid a doomsday, and then actually, of course, have a plan. God forbid we got to deal with one. That's why we're here. That's what our legislation does. Let's get this tunnel built, and let's figure out what we're going to do if one of these tubes go down. Thank you so much. Let me introduce, in the greatest country in the world, a friend of mine that proves that Democrats and Republicans can work together when we need to get things done and solve problems. And this is not about a Democrat or Republican issue. This is just a good for America issue. It's good for New York. It's good for Jersey. My good friend, Peter King.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you very much. Thank you, Josh. Thanks for all your work on this. People think this is a great achievement, having Democrats and Republicans working together. As somebody who spent his whole life in New York City and Long Island, to me it's even more historic to have this much admiration between a guy from New York and a guy from New Jersey. But it's really, Josh is a great guy to work with, absolutely terrific. Had a tremendous impact in the Congress. I want to thank Chris Boylan for being here. Chris and I go back many years. Steve Cohen, Jerry Zano, I want to thank you. And then also from the unions, I want to especially acknowledge Anthony Simon from Transportation Union, who's a real stalwart and a real fighter. You couldn't ask for a better guy to be on your side. Listen, all of the economic reasons have been laid out. This is absolutely essential to New York and New Jersey. And there's no reason other than politics for it not to happen. Josh spoke about the agreement between President Obama beforehand with the governors of New York and New Jersey. There was also an agreement in September of 2017 between President Trump and the governors, and the senators, and Josh and myself. The president had a meeting at the White House in September of 2017 saying how urgent this was, how it had to get done, and Senator Schumer was sitting next to him, Senator Booker was there, Governor Christie was there, Governor Cuomo was there, Josh and I were there, Secretary of Transportation was there, the budget director, now the chief of staff, sat there and never said a word, which made me nervous at the time. He's from South Carolina, but talking about moocher states, but that's another story. Fact is, this was stopped several months later for whatever political reason it was, whether it was over immigration, whether it was personality disputes, and suddenly the project was supposed to be on the fast track, was actually pulled out of the budget. We had to fight to get it put back in, but now that it's back in, it's being slow-walked by the Department of Transportation. They're finding various reasons, whether it's environmental impact statements, whether it's how they're going to assess the money, whether or not a loan counts toward the state's contribution. The fact is, this is a matter of national security. Apart from all the economic reasons, we have to keep the Northeast Corridor open. I was in Congress on 9/11, and the only transportation we had back and forth between New York, New Jersey, and Washington was Amtrak. This was essential. It's absolutely essential. And so, again, there's no excuse. Let's put the politics aside. Whether or not New York or New Jersey are blue states, whether or not they're going to vote Republican or whatever, to me, we're Americans first. We have to get this done. And again, it's a matter of simple justice. But the exact amount, listen, if the administration of the Department of Transportation says it can be done cheaper some other way, if they have some other method, some other reasoning, some other type of funding structure, then let's sit down and talk about it. But right now, it's just being buried. It's going nowhere. And every day we wait is a day closer to a terrible disaster. Economic disaster, physical disaster, and potentially a national security disaster. So let's get it done. Josh is right. If they drop the category of importance of this project from moderate to low, then I'm sure they're all geniuses down there. They must have a real reason for doing it. So I anxiously look forward to the report they give us the next 60 days to tell them what their alternative plan is. Because I'm sure they would never be that irresponsible to drop it down. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. Unless they really had an alternative plan. And that's what we're asking for today. This is a way of highlighting and putting them on the spot to make sure they know that we know what they're doing and not doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just to clarify, this bill is demanding the U.S. DOT to come up with a plan. Is there anything that could be done locally, or does this have to be done on the federal level?
Oh, basically, this has to be done at a federal level. But again, if the federal government believes there should be more of a local input, local government do more, the state government, let them tell us. What we're saying is, if for them to drop down something so important from moderate to low, they should have a reason. Let us know what the reason is. Let us know what the alternative plan is. I don't think they have one, but we're putting them on the spot. So let us know it's either put up or shut up.
So right now there is no contingency plan at all. Just clarify for our viewers. There's nothing. No one knows what to do in front of the tunnel shows now, right?
Well, as any kind of permanent solution, no. Again, I would let the engineers and the experts say what can be done on an emergency basis, just like things were done after Sandy. I mean, anytime there's a disaster, there's always some alternative. But I don't want to be at that stage where we're fighting off a disaster.
Reps, when was the last time you spoke to anyone, whether the president or someone in his cabinet, about this project, and where do those talks leave off?
I spoke to the president, I guess it was last year when I got him to put it back in the budget, and he agreed that it was important. Since then, we've had any number of other crises, whether it's MS-13, or whether it's the border wall, whether it's the budget. But now, again, it's time to get the job done. We've been in contact with people in the administration, and basically we get stonewalled.
Yeah, and I've spoken to the administration regularly about it and brought it up as an issue like Peter has continuously, and we're just not getting any answers. You know, I think they know that we obviously think this is an urgent issue. It's just a question if we're going to do anything about it, and that's where we haven't seen any traction.
There's been a lot of talk about it, but commuters want to know what is being done and what is
Well,
I was going to say, what we've asked the administration to do in this bill is to actually give us, the Department of Transportation, the U.S. Department of Transportation, give us a contingency plan. What happens if one or both tunnels goes down? Within 60 days, they need to deliver a plan to us to say, here's how we're going to handle it. Here's how people are going to get between New York and New Jersey, how they're going to get to work so that our economy can hold up, our regional economy can hold up. Affects 20% of the U.S. GDP, $100 million a day hit to the regional economy. How are people going to physically get to work every day? And then, of course, what are we going to do with the economic hit? How are we going to handle that? So there's just logistics, and it's between New York and New Jersey. So you've got two states here that are affected by it, significantly impacting the economy and people's lives. So what are we? That's what this plan is all about. Just give us your contingency plan for a doomsday.
I can say the reality is I don't think they have a plan, and we're putting them on the spot. Say if you were saying this is no longer as important as it was, you must have a plan. Let us see what it is. I'll be very surprised if they have one.
Congressman. Exactly when this was dropped from moderate priority to low priority.
Yes.
So that led to the announcement of the bill that led to
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This is our hope to get back into it. Yeah.
No, when was it dropped?
Oh.
A year. It looks like these guys.
Yeah.
It was a year ago. It was about a year ago, and it was based on actually an incorrect funding analysis that said that federal loans, which are repayable solely with state money, did not count as local share. That has never been done in the history of any major project in the United States. It also is worth pointing out Amtrak, it's a federal asset, and yet the states are putting up 50% of the money. It's time for the federal government to do its share.
But at the time that was done, the president was telling us it was important, and that's why he had the money put back in the budget. So, again, maybe you can walk into a government at the same time. The president was telling us this was important. We put the money back in the budget as of mid-March, the end of March last year, to go forward.
Yeah, just one other thing I think is important to add to that, particularly in the case of Portal Bridge, there was concern about the quality of the investment that the states were putting up. And we went back and put our submission for Portal Bridge and got from our gas tax money directly $600 million that New Jersey's putting in for Portal Bridge. That really should raise its score significantly. There was a question of TIFIA loans, et cetera, so now that's out. It's cash coming out of our trust fund. So we've really raised the bar on our side.
Yeah, bottom line is, if they want to get it done, they can get it done. And if they have issues, they can raise those issues, tell us exactly what they are. Let's get to the table and get it done.
Congressman, you talked about a plan B. Amtrak, Tony Koch has said he's looking at a plan B, which is to repair the tunnels in place, like Mr. Cuomo was doing with the L train tunnel. He said he's doing that. Would either of you urge him to conclude whether he can do that or not and get it done? No, from the Congress.
I think everything should be looked at. I'm just what the reality of it is, see how that affects the overall project, and just see again what the cost is, what the timeline on that is, and whether or not it's worth pursuing.
Even if you build Gateway, it's going to take 10 years to it over.
I think we need every single contingency on the table, right? We have no time to waste here, as Peter said, right? It's a ticking time bomb here. So we got to figure this out. We got to get there. We got to get answers. And the fact is, if we want to get this done, we're a great country. We can get it done. We actually have to start moving. The bureaucratic delays and the double talk are outrageous. People want to get this done. Let's get going.
How does your legislation get things going if it's just asking the DOT to come up with a contingency plan? And second to that, do you support Senator Schumer's plan could get things going by spending the state's money.
Again, I don't know if that can be done. Chuck can get it done fine. But to me, to have the state spend the money first and then hope to get reimbursed later on and get that through the House and Senate, if you can do it, fine. But you can also put the effort in on that to make sure that we do everything we can right now, not necessarily rely on one particular piece of legislation. On that, let me just say, if we are going to get it done too, it's important to have cooperation. I hope the next time Governor Cuomo goes to the White House to meet with the president on this, he lets the Congress know about it, the members of the House from New York and New Jersey, and the Senate, because again, this has to be a combined, united effort. You can't have just people going off on their own. So it's important for all of us to work together.
What do both of you think this says about our democracy, that you have had to fight so hard on the state level and kind of leave no stone unturned, and only to be met with still no success?
I would just say, coming from New York and New Jersey, we're used to it. It happened on 9/11 healthcare. It happened on 9/11 victims' compensation. It certainly happened on Sandy. I remember being there during Katrina. We voted $65 billion within 1 week. We had to move heaven and earth to get $61 billion 4 and 5 months after Sandy. So listen, we're used to it. Again, that's maybe why we're so tough in New York and New Jersey, because we're used to fighting these guys off. But again, everything's a fight. I'm used to it. It's unfortunate. I wish it wasn't that way. But that's the way it is.
This is why we also see people coming together across the aisle from New York, New Jersey, and the region saying there shouldn't be any politics in this, right? This is not a partisan issue remotely. It's about what's good for New York, New Jersey, but also the United States economy, right? And that's what I don't understand. How could you take this risk? And part of what we're going to learn in this, and when we get our 60-day plan back, is this is what's going to happen. How are we going to handle it? And hopefully this puts a spotlight on it for the country of, well, we have actually a real problem here. They keep trying to come up with every excuse not to talk about it and not to solve the problem. And it's time we actually all got together as Americans and solve the problem.
Do you get a sense that your colleagues understand that this is an urgent problem? I mean, they're dealing with their own issues all across the country with things that have happened, and this seems to be preventative. Have you been able to convince them that this is something that needs urgent attention?
The answer is probably no. Everyone's after their own regional interests. That's why it's important for the administration and the president to set the tone. This is really an issue of national consequence, and it's up to the White House to make the big move. We're going to push as much as we can, but you get people from other states, they're interested in themselves. I understand that. It's wrong, but that's reality. And if they can take a shot at New York and New Jersey, they enjoy that too. That's why it's important for the White House to get behind this, to drive this. The administration has to do more. They're the ones that set the national agenda. And this is part of the national agenda. And
I'll say one last thing. Yeah, you always have to explain it to your colleagues. I get that, but many of them have been in this station. They get it. A lot of them get it. They just want to know why is it so. They actually ask me all the time, why is this so complicated? And I'm dumbfounded. I don't really have a good answer. All I know is that there's going to be a lot of people. If this goes, if one of these tunnels comes down, and people are suddenly wake up the next day and say, how am I getting to work today? And businesses say, how are folks going to get in the city? We got an economy to run. There are going to be a lot of people who did nothing. They're going to have to answer for this. And I think that's the big issue here. And part of this legislation is to make sure that they're thinking about what we're going to do, because they're going to have a lot to answer for.
Okay, just really quickly, one last quick question from WABC. So this bill obviously is working for the commuters. It's an effort to reassure commuters that there will be a contingency plan in place. However, we're going to have viewers tonight and readers who are going to see this and say, oh my gosh, there is no plan. I thought there may have been a plan. So what do you say to those individuals or commuters who will see this not knowing there was no plan, who are going to really freak out perhaps even more, knowing that this is something that we're kind of begging for?
All I can tell is we will fight as hard as we can to get a plan and to make sure this goes forward. This is all part of the effort. But these are tough times. We got to get it done. But tell them that we're in there fighting.
Exactly. That's why we're here. All right. Last question. I'm going to go. Yeah.
You slow walk this process under this administration the whole time. What makes you think that they're going to deliver this report in 60 days?
I think, again, by asking for the report in 60 days, we're putting the pressure on them, making it a public issue. And again, there's going to be a lot of negotiations coming up on the budget, a lot of negotiations about immigration, so many other issues. I want this to be part of that. Anything that's resolved on other key issues, I want Gateway to be part of it. This is one way to do it, by getting the issue out there, making sure it becomes part of the public debate, make sure the Congress knows about it, so when the battle does come, we're ready.
The top of the list.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.